Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Breaking the Cycle. We are at episode 10, which is mind blowing to me, but we have our special guest, Joby Anderson, on today. So we are going to have a great conversation. Joby, do you want to go ahead and just give us a brief background on yourself and how you got into crypto?
Sure. Guys, my name's Joby. I got in crypto around 6 years ago. I'm a test engineer by trade, and I've been doing that for almost 17 years now. I originally got involved in crypto. I was actually looking for a way to truly self custody. It was something that was in my head for quite a while when I started looking at current economic issues that were happening several years back that scared me. And then, of course, even inflation was on my mind all the way back then. And I was trying to find a way to escape that entire matrix of how things work in the United States.
Mm.
So I I very initially I got involved like a lot of people where I was looking at different projects. It was primarily Bitcoin and Ethereum that I first got involved with, and I've just branched out ever since. And I've since the last year I got pretty heavily involved in trying to reach out to legislators and trying to get more people involved in actually making proper regulation for crypto. And that's really it in a nutshell. I love crypto, love everything about it, love the community, and just here to help.
That's
Awesome.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Um,
I'm curious. Tell me so obviously a lot of people in this space have problems with, some people want no regulation or legislation. Other people recognize that it's like a necessary evil. What would you say is your ideal legislation or regulation that you're advocating for in this space so that, you know, we can have the best success rate moving forward?
Well, I think the obviously people that are like the original cypherpunks all feel that the legislation should be completely derived from the code. The code should create its own laws, and that should be how everything is structured. Well, what I would like to see is legislation in place that confirms that that code actually exists before the project is released. So, in a nutshell, if we have something that nothing is going to be perfect, but there are
Mhm.
ways to make certain projects have proper governance and to make sure that things are not actually scams. And before they're able to be released, I think they should have those in place before that it could be released to the public, at least in terms of the United States, right? And how markets work here. And I think that would be the best way to approach it is it's a happy medium for both. It makes it so you have the people that are only wanting the code to be the actual way that keeps people safe, but then it also makes sure that those systems are in place for the people that are using it.
Mhm. All right. I
Well,
like that.
some of those OGs were pretty. This will go nicely into our first question. Some of those OGs were very quick to cheer on Mr. Gary Gensler because they're so Bitcoin maximalists or pretty. They think they're pretty, pure or whatever.
Hmm.
So they're that was, I kind of took issue with that. We talked about that in a previous episode when they were kind of simping for Gary Gensler and
Mhm.
saying, "Oh, Bitcoin's the only thing that'll ever exist, and everything else is just garbage." So should we go to our first question?
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, Joby, I know, or we know that you have a lot of experience in the industry, and you have a lot of knowledge. Can you give us a background? I know from what Beardy had said that you had spent a lot of time researching Gary Gensler and his background. So, can you kind of just give us a brief summary of Gary and how he kind of did a U-turn on crypto
Yep.
from
There's
your
also
Yeah,
an article on
yeah,
Medium if you guys are interested.
yeah. I wrote a Medium article. Well, that actually, you know what, that Medium article, that was one that was like a private one that I sent to a few people. Uh, it was about Gary and his wife passing several years ago, and how I'm trying to understand what changed, why his perspective changed. Because if you look at the early years of Gary Gensler's career, like he originally was with Goldman Sachs, right, and that goes all the way back to '79, and
Okay.
he actually he's like a really impressive guy when you start looking at some of the things he did. He was one of the youngest partners at Goldman Sachs ever in history,
Wow.
all the way back then. He was 30 years old when that all started. And then he was involved through the entire 80s at doing all different types of mergers and acquisitions. So he's done a lot in the finance world that's been positive for investors and different people in the industry. Um, and then when he ended up leaving and started working at MIT as a professor, he was very much involved in blockchain and understanding how the technology works and how it actually applies to current securities laws. And he has said, in videos that 60% of the market, I believe it was either 60 or 70% of the market is a commodity. And
Okay.
now all of a sudden everything changes now that he's the SEC chair, and trying to pinpoint the pivot and what changed was the whole reason I started researching him in the first place. And to be completely honest, I haven't been able to identify an actual point that everything changed.
Okay.
All I know is that there have been really sad events in his life that have happened that uh, may have made him cold and not promoting that side of our financial system and wanting things to change. Um,
I
but
read the article. The interesting thing was his wife was an artist or something.
yeah. So his wife. So this is actually a really sad story about Gary Gensler. So he's only been married one time in his
Hmm.
life, and what year was that he got married? He was married to her for about 20 years, and his wife was an artist who did film and all kind of really interesting things that actually would have leaned way more toward the side of how people in crypto view NFTs as art, and how uh, things should be uh, things should be empowering, right? You should be able to have things on your own, such as we look at in the entire crypto space and how people want to self-govern and all these different things that we promote. Well, his
Yeah.
wife was very much involved in those types of things in her artwork. And a part of it, I wondered, is when she passed away. She died of breast cancer in what
Oh,
was
that's
Mm.
it,
horrible.
2008, I believe, 2006 or 2008. I have to look at my notes, but it was a really drawn out and awful thing that happened to her. And there are pictures and different things you can read about how Gary stood by her side the entire time. And I can't help but wonder if, like, throughout the course of all this stuff, like something died in him along the way. Those types of things can really change a person.
Well, it
And
sounds like he almost lost his muse, like if she was
right,
that whimsical and like loving and affectionate and like the light of his life is what it sounds
right,
like, like it sound from what I've researched on him, he wanted nothing to do with anyone, like any
right.
woman since his wife passed away, like, and to that respect, you do have to respect, and that's very admirable that he stuck by his wife through all of that. I mean, like, I had no idea any of that, and it kind of changes my perspective on him and kind of almost
Right.
makes me feel
And
bad for
yeah,
him.
that's actually the reason that I ended up choosing to not really make that article fully public. I sent it to my friends and things like that to go through and read it, but I ended up changing my mind on releasing it only because I didn't want people looking at it and thinking that it was like a cheap shot at Gary to say, "Oh,
Mm.
this is the reason this happened," and you're trying to use his wife against him or anything like that, because that wasn't what I was trying to do. Even though I strongly disagree with Gensler's stance on crypto and how he views things, and I do strongly feel that he needs to be removed from his position.
Mhm.
As a human being, I don't even necessarily think he is a bad person. I think he has his own agenda, and I
Mm.
think that he is likely being pushed by other people and possibly other major investors, and to either one make Bitcoin the only crypto that's in the United States, which I have theories on that, or it's to eliminate it completely to make sure that the banking system stays in full power.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
those are deep rabbit holes we can go down if you want to, but
A thought I just had, I think I read it and it was 2006, I think. And that would also kind of coincides right before the great financial crisis. I don't know if that affected anything, but that's just a thought I had.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's interesting that that happened prior to Bitcoin's creation. I
Right.
thought that you were going to say when we were briefly talking about this, but we didn't have the dates yet. I thought it was happened sometime after Bitcoin was
No,
created.
no,
Huh.
it was before. And
Wow.
again, this goes to why I wasn't able to pinpoint something that actually occurred that made the change. However, I always am trying to like connect all the dots
Yeah.
in any topic.
Mhm.
And if you think about it, you say, okay, well, this guy has gone X amount of years without a person in their life to really fall back on and have,
Mm.
like, a really strong person helping them get through life and understanding why things are a certain way. Like, I know as a married man, I can speak for my wife. Like, she keeps me grounded, right? She's the one who actually makes me stop and think about some of the decisions that I'm making that could affect other people,
Hmm.
or hurt
Same here. Yeah.
industry, for example. And that's exactly what I wonder, if something's just totally missing in that realm, and he's now just driven by his career, and that's it. He's only looking at his career, because I know he has ambitions to be Treasury Secretary.
Right.
So if that's the case, then a big move for him would be to actually just hurt the crypto industry altogether, because as Treasury Secretary, he would be pushing for US dollar only. That would be the biggest push that he could make.
Oh yeah.
So
Joe,
Yeah.
Joe, that's why you're so light in the loafers. You need a good wife.
yeah, they definitely help.
Yeah.
Oh,
Definitely. Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
I don't ever want to date again. No, thank you.
Well, I like that you bring up a couple things that you brought up really ring true and speak to me in my profession as a counselor, because I like that you said that you were looking for ways to kind of like bring the human back into him. And that's what I've found in my career is that, a lot of people have problems. A lot of people have skeletons in their closet. But if you can get them to open up and find out some of these details, you can recognize that, they're human just like you and I. So I like that you spoke to that, as well as like speaking to the strength that, in this particular case, we're talking about like women in a partnership being like, a support pillar to helping people navigate difficult times. But really, it's like any partner, any companionship
Hmm.
um, is really beneficial. And it sounds like we're saying that we've had that experience in our lives as well. But in history, we've also seen great examples of that. And like one that comes to my mind is like Eleanor Roosevelt and her husband. They had a good partnership, and it's been said that she kind of kept him like even keeled through a lot of stressful times.
Mhm.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think nobody's beyond redemption, not even BitBoy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, maybe
Every-
Bitboy. I don't know.
I think everybody can.
I'll
He,
argue
he,
that
he
one.
Everybody can
seems
be
to have
redeemed.
had his redemption arc now about 3 times and keeps blowing it. So
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
that's the human in
we're
us.
all gonna get hit with a notice from BitBoy now.
yeah.
I think he blocked me on Twitter.
Good riddance.
Yeah. Well,
I
anyway.
don't even write anything to his Twitter posts anymore. I used to years ago, but not anymore. I can't even look at it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It was when he shook Machinsky's hand, when he
Mhm.
went there to quote unquote punk him, and
Yeah.
then ended up shaking his hand. That was like yeah. Anyways,
Yeah.
I didn't know a lot about that about Gary Gensler, and it does kind of humanize him, because I had just gotten to the point where I'm like, fuck that guy, I hate him, but
Yeah.
like, it is important to remember that people have their own issues, and they've done things. Like, I don't agree with a lot of things that Gary's done, including helping Hillary. Well, we won't talk about his connection to Hillary Clinton and all
Yeah,
that, but
that's another interesting topic. Honestly, that was
Mhm.
yeah,
a big one to go down. And
yeah,
there's a lot of speculation behind that too, but there is a lot of evidence to say that the whole Steele dossier thing was that it's kind of crazy when you really go down that's another rabbit hole.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
don't want to bring that up because it's
Yeah.
politics, but that was one rabbit hole that I found, and I was just like, wait, what? Like, it dove down that, and I'm like, I'm just gonna back out of this, because it just like, I don't know what to believe on this.
Right.
So yeah, that if any of our viewers want to dive down that, you can go look that up yourselves. Maybe we'll do an episode on that later at another date. But I know that you're really heavily involved with politicians and reaching out to your senators and making your voices heard. Can you kind of give the group a rundown on how they can make themselves heard with their senators, and
Yeah.
share with your experience? Has anyone written you back? Have you talked to anyone? Like, have you actually got any of them to say, like, hey, you are my constituent and you are important to me, I'd like to hear this?
Yes, you can. So I'll tell you now. I take it to a pretty extreme level because I'm putting out hundreds of letters a year,
Mm.
and by doing that, my goal is to make sure that they realize this is a hot topic for upcoming elections, and they understand that people are willing to take the time to write them about it. Because I think most people, if you sit down and think about it, when have you ever wrote a letter to your politicians? Ever?
Mm.
Ever? No one does. Nobody
Right.
does that. All people do is they take the extra, 1 or 2 days to go and vote. That's it. That's
Mhm.
as far as most people go politically. So when your legislators are seeing that people are willing to take the time out of their busy lives to actually sit down and either handwrite them or send them an email, it really changes their perspective. And you can actually see that by recent events with how we are seeing this major fight that's happening in Congress and in the Senate right now for people that are supporting crypto. And I think a big part of that is because there have been a lot more people getting involved and actually reaching out to their legislators. And the biggest thing you can do right now is actually knowing where to look and know how to actually find your different legislators that you can write to. Um, and here, I got some websites right here for everybody. The easiest, well, off the top of my head, the very easiest thing people can do is if you have the Coinbase application, there is a section on the Coinbase application called crypto advocacy. And if you go into that section on Coinbase, it will actually link you to your current local legislators that are in support of cryptocurrency. It also shows the ones that are opposing. And by doing that, you can actually find the contact information on there. And Coinbase even goes as far to give you a message media that you can go in there and write that you are a supporter of crypto as a default response. But I would personally recommend going in, and if you simply go to my Twitter, I have several letters that you can copy and paste that actually say the reasons that you are a supporter of cryptocurrency and that you want to see positive legislation. And they go into a bit more of a breakdown on why. And all of these letters have been heavily checked and made sure that there's no punctuation errors or anything like that in them. So I make those public. You can copy those and paste those, and feel free to use them as much as you want. I don't mind whatsoever. Just want to help as much as I can. And that's one route that you can take. The other ways you can actually get involved are you can actually, you can attend town hall meetings, right? You can actually go to those, and it will be a little bit of a shocker if you show up at a town hall meeting and want to talk about things with crypto. But it's important for other people in your community to hear these issues, because you would be surprised at when you lay out facts about why things are unjust and what you feel is being taken away from you, that your community can rally behind you and actually help you pursue what you're trying to do. So
Hey, Joby, real quick, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find this on Coinbase. Where is it and what's it called so we can
It's
show the
on Coinbase, and it's called Crypto Advocacy.
crypto advocacy. Hold on. I'm trying to. Sorry, you can go back ahead.
Sure. Crypto Advocacy on Coinbase. It's actually on the application if you're opening it up on your phone. I don't know if it's on the
Because I logged on the
browser
laptop.
version.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah, but if you open up the app on your phone, it comes up right when you here. I'll do it right now so I can.
Yeah, and while he's getting that up there, let me show this for you. There we go. Share. Just so people can see his Twitter, so that he can go there. And it looks like, yeah. So his pinned tweet here is, to all my crypto supporting friends, please feel free to copy and paste this letter to Congress. And then you can click on that, and he's got the letter there for you, ready to go. And I've actually used this letter from Joby and sent it to my members of Congress in my state, and it was very easy. It only took me about 5 minutes to send out 3 letters. I did both the senators and my House of Representatives.
Joby, you would do any work with Dennis Porter at all? He does a lot of good work in this kind of stuff.
So I've reached out. I haven't worked with Dennis directly. Like we're not buddies or anything, but we do stand for the same exact things, and we he knows of me and what I'm trying to do, so he will promote things that I'm trying to do. But that's another person to heavily get involved with is Dennis Porter, and also another one is Ryan Selkis. If you're following Dennis, he's a big proponent for legislation involved in Bitcoin mining. That's a really huge one that he's pushing right now. And there's something called the Satoshi Act Fund. Now, when you look at the Satoshi Act Fund, it's a great way for people to do some you don't have to do anything crazy, but small donations can go a long way in helping create the legislative framework that's needed to push these certain topics. I don't want to come off as like I'm trying to shill something, but this is all. Yeah.
Joby, I'm actually in that Telegram group. Are you in the Satoshi Action Telegram group?
Yes. Yeah.
That's a good resource.
Yeah, it really is. That's a great group to get involved with. And let's see what else about reaching out politically.
I'm actually going to share this real quick because you can actually, real quick. Sorry, Joby.
Sure.
If you go on Coinbase, you can go if you're international, United States, commentary, stand with crypto. And then if you go to the legislative portal right here, it's really cool. It breaks it down by state, actually.
Yeah.
So like I'm in Texas. So I would come here.
Give me Brad Sherman.
And then it would come through and I can just start learning about my politicians. And like, maybe if I'm someone who, wants to send these guys who have more negative, I can, copy Joby's letters. And that's probably honestly what I'll do. is I'll just copy Joby's letter and send it to everyone on here who has a negative sentiment, you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I got
it's really
Tom
cool.
Emmer, the majority whip. What do you guys got?
Don't even know who it is. I'll have to
So
look later.
here's another great source that people don't realize. If you simply just go to house.gov /representatives /find your representative, and you can reach this pretty easily by just going to house.gov. You can actually enter your zip code and it will find your representative by zip code. I think that the actual mechanism that Coinbase is using is linked to this. This is how they're able to find it. So if you don't necessarily want to go through Coinbase doing this, you can actually just go to the House's website and enter your zip code there, and it will actually give you the direct links to write letters to the House. And that's another great source to use. I've pretty much I use that site for almost everything when I'm sending all this stuff out. And you don't have to do it by physical mail. You can do all of this electronically, so you're not wasting money with stamps or anything like that. However, I personally I think a handwritten letter is a really strong push to make them realize that there are other generational people here other than your computer savvy ones. But again, that's just an opinion. I've had pretty much all the members of my family at this point writing and trying to send stuff out because I think it's incredibly important. Like probably one of the most important political issues that we're going to see for many, many years, and more people need to understand it.
I agree,
Yeah.
Joey. I just changed my avatar in honor of Senator Warren. Don't you guys?
Thanks, Beardy.
I don't know
Senator
what she
Warren
knows.
probably can't stand me because I think I send her more letters than anyone else. So,
But don't you guys think? I mean, I don't understand politics. Don't you think she just basically committed political suicide, or does what am I missing?
I think so.
I think
yeah.
she did,
Yeah,
but I don't think she thinks she did yet.
no,
Right.
I think that she is trying to appeal to possibly the older generation that still don't understand the technology and are and genuinely do think that everything in crypto is a scam just because of some of the things that have been said on mainstream news over the years.
Yep.
I'm guessing that
And
is
rightfully
her-
so. There have been some really bad events that made our industry look horrible that have given
Yeah.
her, that have
Right.
given her the right to do that.
Right. Right.
And then
Well,
that little weasel Brad Sherman, I hate him too.
Oh yeah. Well, I think that with Warren, I think she's trying to fill the void left behind by Bernie, because Bernie Sanders was a very big progressive, and then when he lost the presidential primary and he had to go back into working in the Senate, I think that's when he realized he needed to get more into the middle, since he was no longer kind of running for the presidency under that progressive movement. And now that the progressive movement has that void, Warren was already part of it. I think she's trying to step up and fill that hole. But that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that.
I think Warren is trying, like you said, she's trying to appeal to the boomers. But it's going to be really hard for her, especially since BlackRock just came out, and you're going to have a lot of these older generations who still go and do, like their money management through an advisor. They're going to go down, there for their yearly meeting with their advisor, bi-yearly meeting, whatever they're going to have. And they're going to sit down, and their advisor's going to go, hey, we're going to put some money into this BlackRock Bitcoin fund that's going on, and we're going to start, we're going to grow with this, and this is why we're going to do it, and blah, blah, blah. And then there's a lot of those people are going to be like, hey, no, we don't want that. That Bitcoin's bad. Then the advisor's going to be like, hey, these are the reasons why we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And this is what Bitcoin is. And they're going to get educated through their financial advisors. There's like the boomer generation isn't going to be watching YouTube on stuff like this, right? Like they're not going to watch our show. Let's be honest. It's our generation, the younger generation, that's doing it. that's going to be the one who are led the charges, and now the older generation with more money is going to be sitting there, the people in their 60s or 70s who care about their children, their grandchildren, and the advisors are going to come down and say, hey, we're going to put money into this because this is going to be what's best for your children and your grandchildren and your great grandchildren in the long run. And a lot of those advisors are going to be like, those people are going to be like, yeah, I want what's best for my children. And if you have someone like BlackRock and Larry Fink, pardon me, coming out and saying like, hey, this is what we're doing, this is why we believe in it, you're going to have a lot of the older generations going to be like, wow, Larry Fink is doing it. The only thing that's better, that would be better than this, is if Warren Buffett started buying in, which technically he kind of almost has, because he's been buying was it MicroStrategy and ARK ETF, I think?
Yeah, well, Buffett
one of
got
those two.
directly involved in a crypto-related bank. He was actually heavily invested. I think he put in, oh my goodness, it was close to $1 billion, I believe. It was what was that, 2.5, 3 years ago? Buffett was behind the scenes actually buying into a crypto bank, and and
Exactly.
at the same exact time he was saying how crypto should be banned in the United States. But that just, it goes to show that you can't really
They
listen.
talk out their mouths, one
Yeah,
side
they-
on,
Yeah,
they
I
talk
got-
out both sides of their mouth.
I got a
Watch
good
what they
one.
do, not what they say.
Yeah.
I got a good one for you guys before we wrap up this section. So not all boomers are created equal. I'm sitting here in Wisconsin land, and the very spot where I was starting to go down the rabbit hole, it was my 70-year-old contrarian thinking farmer of a father-in-law. He got me into crypto. So they're not all created equal. So
Yeah, there's obviously the
Yeah.
exceptions on, like either on all the sides. There's, but yeah, there for the most part, and I think it's actually kind of cool. I didn't know your father-in-law got you into crypto. That's pretty neat, actually.
yeah, that's awesome.
That is pretty gangster, actually. Your father-in-law is a savage. I would just like to.
He is. Well, he's always been like thinking outside the box in the system. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I met a lot of actually really, really awesome seniors throughout the years that they aren't necessarily into all of crypto, but they're definitely into Bitcoin. And
Yeah.
and it goes back to they have taken the time to actually read real information about it, or they've actually taken a look at the white paper, and they agree with self-governance. A lot of these people are gold bugs. They're
Yep.
into gold, and they're looking for hedges, and that's exactly what it is. And they've realized that scarcity actually matters, and that's why they're looking at Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So no, you're definitely right. They are out there, but the biggest thing we can do is push to educate more and more and more. Education is going to be everything when it comes to this.
And
Yeah.
so please pray for my father-in-law though, because he's got over 20 grand tied up, and I think he had it in a stable coin on Celsius, and I don't know.
Oh my God.
I don't know how bad he's
Oh,
going to take
dude.
it in the shorts, but
Right.
we'll see.
Yeah, no, dude, that's horrible. We'll definitely keep them in our thoughts and everything.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I'll say about generations as well is all the boomers that I've gotten into crypto through orange pilling them, I feel like the key to that puzzle is they have to trust the younger generation. They have to have that willingness to sit down and say, "Tell me about this thing that I don't understand."
Mhm.
And I have to trust you that you understand it more. And that's what I found is the boomers who are willing to kind of like step aside and say, you know what, like you know more about this than me. I'm willing to admit that. I'm willing to accept that. Explain it to me. Try to talk to me about it in a way that I can understand it. Help me with the process of getting it set up. Those are the ones who end up being successful. But the people who think that they're better than us, or they know better, or have some sort of prejudice against us, because of whatever
younger.
beliefs they have, those are the ones that I think are refusing to change. So they have to be willing to change, and they have to trust somebody younger than them to introduce them to it and guide them through it.
You know what's funny is that's exactly what I had to do with my mom. I kept talking to her about it, and finally I was like, I'm gonna make a YouTube channel, and if regardless, I'm gonna make so I think my first like 3 or 4 videos is just on crypto, like how I got into it, why I do it, how I do it, Ledger, breaking it down with Coinbase, how do you do everything. And it finally, like, I sent her the videos. I sent her all three, and I was like, hey, just spend the however long watching these. Do me a favor, do it at work, as background noise. And if you don't want to get into it, just tell me it's not for you. But if you do want to talk about it more, like that, we can talk about it. And she actually watched them and like said, like, you know what? I'm impressed that you were able to, you went through all this, right? Like you sat down and you did your research on it. And, like that's what made her actually want to listen to me. It's not just my mom being like, hey mom, trust me. Like, I broke it down. I gave her the evidence. I gave her, why I'm doing what I'm doing. I showed her what I was doing. And, like, hey, I'm doing it. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. But I think that's what you have to do with a lot of people. Is you have to, like Brian said, you have to sit down and break it down for them and show them all of the evidence. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that because it takes too long.
Mhm.
There's
Yeah,
a
it
lot of
takes a long
people who
time.
are
Well,
Yeah.
most people don't want to even deal with looking at their 401k, right? They just
Right.
want to hit they just want to hit a button that says they're doing a 2040 or a 2050 plan, and that's
Mhm.
it. They don't want to think about anything outside of that, and they don't want to worry about their finances. So I think the key is making people realize that you have to actually care about this stuff. If you if
Mhm.
you
Yes.
if you're wanting to achieve something, you have to be willing to actually look at it and take the time to understand how these things work. And you can't just go but off of what the media is trying to tell you is good for you,
Yep.
because it's been proven so many times now that will only lead you down a path of destruction. That's it.
Yeah.
So if you it's all education in the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the mindset shift there that you're talking about. We have to shift people from the current, norm of hand your money over to a financial advisor and let them take care of it, and you just cash out, 30, 40, 50 years later, to take custody of your investments, be active, be involved in that, understand what you're doing, and be a part of it. That's a mind shift that generation probably struggles with, not because of their, any fault of their own, but because that was the system that was created and put into place. Now we have the technology and tools to do it a different way, and that's the part that's causing a lot of cognitive dissonance, I think, for a lot of the older individuals.
Yeah, it's almost like they got told their entire lives, that they did get told their entire lives, this is too hard for you to do. You
Hmm.
don't want to do this. You're not smart enough to do it. Only trust the people who are going to take the fees
Hmm.
from you. And they're the ones who are smart enough to do it, right? Then
Right.
our generation started coming in with like Robinhood and a lot of that. And they're like, why am I paying someone to do what I can do when these
From my
people,
phone.
yeah, these people aren't even willing to listen to me? Like, because I give you guys a kind of a brief story. When my father passed away, when I got one of my inheritance checks, like I went to a money market person. I was like, hey, like this isn't a lot of money, but it's, like it's a lot of money to me. I know you guys don't look at it as a lot of money, but like I want to invest this right. I want to do it the right way. And they're like, oh yeah, just we'll take care of it for you and we'll actively trade it and do all that. I'm like, I want to be involved in this. Like I want to learn
Right.
what's going on. They're like, oh no, it's too confusing. You don't want to do that. And I'm like, no, I really do. I want to understand how my money is working and what we're doing. And they're just like, well, we do like 80-20, and then we'll do, like, I'm like, okay, you're going to invest in crypto, or like, what stocks do you guys recommend? They're just like, oh, no, we don't do anything with crypto. That's all a scam. It's going to go to zero. Don't ever touch it. And
Yeah.
then, we'll invest it in like the S&P 500 index or whatever. And I'm like, that there's only 5 companies that are making money in the index right now. Why wouldn't we just buy those 5 shares? They're like, no, we don't do that. That's too risky. And I'm like, I'm doing this myself. Forget you guys. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
I'll
They're
figure
like,
it out on
this
my
guy
own.
knows too much.
Yeah. You're definitely not going to become excessively wealthy by just going to a financial advisor. There's no way.
Oh yeah.
That maybe for some stability, if you're it's a good diversity option if you're sitting on a large portfolio. I think it's always a good idea to have some of your money tied into maybe something that a financial advisor is running as maybe an emergency option for
Mhm.
some security.
Yeah.
However, I personally like to run all of my portfolio. I don't want anyone
Yeah,
messing with stuff.
that's
Yeah.
that's the difference in our generation, you know. Like
Yep.
we are saying like we're asking questions, and I could tell the dude was like, you could tell he was getting annoyed with me. He was like
Oh yeah.
getting kind of snappy because you know,
Uh-huh.
like I'm hammering him with these questions, and he's just thinking this is some dumb, you know, like 29 or 28-year-old who's just like, yeah, I'm gonna give you a lot of money. Here you go, get, you know, like
Mhm.
just run it for me and take my fees. And I'm like, what's your fee structure? What do we do? Do we have like an in-person meeting like once a month, once every other month? Like, and he's like, no, we don't do any of that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
why not? Like,
Oh, I know, Grinder, you're in Invest Answers Patreon. He put out a video. It was a reporter. He was getting kind of snappy like that. It was like when before Amazon was profitable. And they're like, you mean to tell me you think Amazon could displace Sears Roebuck? And he was like, oh, just being a jerk. He's
Yeah.
like, just
Yeah.
calmly saying, yeah, technology and all that. And
I was telling a bunch of my friends on when Tesla hit, and we talked about this previously. I snagged the bottom of Tesla pretty well.
Yeah, you did.
During this last run. And I was telling friends to buy at like 115, 110. They're like, no, it's going down more. And it got down to like 105. And I'm like, buy. Like I managed to
Yeah,
buy some at that
absolutely.
price or
Yes.
107 or whatever it got down to. And I was able to snag some at that price. And I'm telling my friends, I'm like, buy it. They're like, no, it's going to go down below 100. I'm like, no, it's not. Like you guys need to start buying this. And they're like, no. And then it went up to like to 120, and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna wait for it to go back down." I'm like, just buy it now. The difference between buying at 120 and 105 or 107 or 100 isn't that much. Like you're not losing that much. Just dollar cost average into it. Do this. They're like, no. We're gonna wait to the bottom, and then it shoots up to like 200, and they're like, "Oh, I'm not gonna buy it now because it's too expensive." And I'm like,
Right.
I'm done talking to you people. Like I'm not. I'm just done
Yeah.
trying to help you.
I'd say
It's
one
talking to
thing
a fucking wall.
with crypto people, at least one thing we all know for sure is I'd say most of us know how to recognize strong support levels. And
Mm.
and that probably is the big difference right there when you're looking at something like Tesla. People in normal, in normal markets, they're not really looking at it the way we do, where you're actually looking to buy at support. They're looking at it from a total different analysis than we're used to. So we get a little bit of a leg up when it comes to identifying certain bottoms, which is nice.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian, real quick, buddy, do you mind pulling up your YouTube channel or your YouTube playlist with the Orange Pill playlist so we can share that real quick with everyone? Just
Yeah,
as
let
a
me get that.
reminder.
Let me get that
Just
set
because
up.
that's a great one I want to share, and then maybe we can link this one in that playlist with the timestamp of explaining how to talk to your senators and everything and all that, because I think that's a really good piece of information. Joby, does your wife just out of curiosity, not being disrespectful, does she like get into this with you, or is it just her where she's just like, I don't care, you do your thing and I believe in you?
might be muted, Joby.
Joby, are you there, buddy?
He's
Can you
missing.
hear me? Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we
Okay,
go.
sorry
Yep, there
guys.
you're back.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know what happened there.
No, you're good. I was like,
no,
I hope I didn't
my-
offend him with that question.
Yeah, no, not at all. No, my wife is super supportive of everything that I do. She, she takes the time to look at things with me and understands a little bit about crypto. She's not nearly as involved as I am. However, I mean, I couldn't do anything without her. Honestly, she, where we both have our strengths and weaknesses that we balance off one another, and it's a team effort for sure. But it's good to have someone supportive in your corner. There's no doubt about that.
That's good.
Yeah.
I finally orange pilled the wife. It had to come from a biblical view, but then we right away she let me roll over her 403b into a Bitcoin IRA. That was awesome.
Oh, that's
Nice.
great, man. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Oh, I was
Nice.
just say, Joe, throw it back to earlier. I had the same experience where like with family
thinking, it's just a big joke. And then once I grinded it out every day, shout out to Grinder. And I kept
Thank
coming
you.
back for more, and they're like, "Oh, he's making videos about." They're like, "Okay, he's serious about it. Maybe we
Yeah,
will take a
yeah.
look." So persistence pays off.
Yeah,
Oh
it
yeah,
does. It does.
absolutely.
I know when I first got in, I was met with some of the same doubt, and people thought that they didn't understand what I was doing. And then when I just kept going more and more, and all I seem to talk about anymore with people is crypto, that's when I'd say I got like half the people at my work now involved in crypto, which is really nice. So
Nice. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
That's awesome, man.
even some of the ones that literally told me that it was a complete scam, and once I showed them how things actually work, they realized what an insane opportunity all of this is.
There's
I
just
got
so many angles you can hit them with.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's if you have the ammo to actually make your argument, you actually there's no argument that you can make against something like Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. There's nothing that
Like
applies. So
you-
you can always win that argument when you're actually put to the table.
like
Yeah.
with my
I
sister.
actually
I'm
got
like, "Oh, do you want to do math? Do you want to do environmentalism? Do you want to do engineering? Which angle should we come from?"
Right.
Right. Right.
I actually got my chiropractor involved with it. And we sat down one day and he was like, explain this Bitcoin stuff to me. So I explained it to him while he was doing my adjustment. And by the end of it, he was like, okay, I'm going to order one of these ledger thingies. And then will you help me set it up? And I'm like, yes, absolutely. And I scheduled it he scheduled me for the last appointment of the day. And we sat down for like 2 hours getting him set up with everything. I taught him how to do, how to transfer stuff. I made a video for him teach in case he forgets how to do, transfer his stuff. Like he's
Nice.
texted me and been like, hey, what are we doing with this? And I'll like every once in a while when I see the price is really down and like it looks scary, I'll send him a text being like, hey, remember these are the days that we buy, like we don't worry about the short term, we remember the long term. And he'll be like, hey, you know what? Like, thanks for reminding me, like I was getting kind of stressed about it and was thinking about selling, but you're right. Like, like he really got into it. And it's really cool when you actually, get someone to finally, like, you see the light click in their head and they're like, oh yeah, this makes sense to me now. Like I get it.
Yeah, see, and look at that, Joe. You're proving that we're not all internet trolls.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is true. Although I am mostly an internet troll, to be honest with you. I'm actually like 3 feet tall and I live in a trench coat.
Is it
But yeah,
time to look at some
here's
charts?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think we could do that. But before we jump into that, yeah, this is the Bitcoin Orange Pill playlist that I have. And when you're starting out with somebody, I found these three by What Bitcoin Did and Peter McCormick to be the most helpful because they're in like short 30-second to 2-minute clips of like specific questions, and these three individuals go over those questions fairly well. So if somebody has about an hour and 15 minutes, I have them start with these three.
Mhm.
And then from there, when they ask like questions after coming out of those videos, depending on what questions they ask, I try to direct them to what would make the most sense in terms of like Jeff Booth. Are we talking macroeconomics? Are we talking the defense strategy, power projection area with like Jason Lowery, for example? Bring that up there. Self-custody. Here's another beginner's guide by Coin Bureau. So yeah, I know we've gone over this before, but it's good to reiterate it.
I think there's a couple you had for Greg Foss too, right?
Not on my
Okay.
Orange Pill playlist, but I do admire Greg Foss, and I think he's good for the space overall. I just think he might scare off some of the newbies because of how passionate he is.
Yeah, okay. Maybe it was another playlist we had. I thought we talked about him before, but maybe not. Anyways, so we're gonna go into our next question, which is gonna be a lot of us are big Solana fans, but Grinder, can you walk us through your charts on Solana, and then we kind of talk about I don't know if anyone saw this video, but Paul Barron did a great one on Fire Dancer that I thought we would bring up and talk about. So we will go ahead and pass it off to Grinder to school us on his charts.
Sure. Yeah. So the latest Solana pump was pretty impressive. Especially at like this point in the market in the middle of the summer with a lot of tokens going down against Bitcoin's dominance going up. It was nice to see Solana, making a push forward. And to be honest with you, it seems like it's mostly just technically based. There's not really that much news pushing it in that direction. There wasn't a specific update or a partnership or anything like that going on. I think it's just pure technicals. And what I mean by that is it's one of the strongest layer ones out there right now because it didn't even touch its 2022 bear market lows. It was able to maintain above that, whereas a lot of layer ones went below that. And when it got up to horizontal support here, you can see it was able to grab onto the 20-day SMA, that orange line, and ride it and prove that it could hold it, get above that horizontal resistance, back test it as support, get above the 50-day SMA, which is another bullish indicator. Again, back test that and hold it as support multiple times, even after being rejected off the 200-day SMA. But that whole time, if you were following my tweets, I was saying the real test is going to be, can Solana surpass the 200-day SMA and the bull market support band? Because that's where we broke down from. We weren't able to get above it over here. We lost the 200-day SMA on the SEC lawsuit news, as with the rest of the market. And remember, I always say to people, relative strength. If everything's going down, which one's going down less? So everything went down over this week, but it went down less than its competitors. And who's coming back stronger? Who's coming back faster than its competitors? Solana. And so last week we were talking about this key area, and then that's exactly what this push did. This push got us through the 200-day SMA, the 100-day SMA, and the bull market support band, and it got above the point of control on the volume indicator for this time frame as well. But here's the thing. Even though it's gotten through that and it looks like we're going to hold that for this weekly close, next week we really have one final test, which is this horizontal resistance line that we have going through here, which is that last top that we had where we were rejected off the bull market support band. So if we can potentially get above that next week, then we might be able to test the bottom of the former range before the FTX collapse, which is this line up here, as carried over from back over here. So that's what I have for Solana right now. But what I also think is going on behind the scenes in terms of fundamentals is that people are starting to pick up on the Fire Dancer news. And Fire Dancer is going to be like a, let's see, let me make sure I get it right. We're building a new validator client for Solana in order to create a more what? How do we say that, guys? Network, followed by Twitter and GitHub and regular updates on our mission. So Fire Dancer is an ambitious project, and it's going to increase Solana's network throughput, efficiency, and resiliency over the next 12 to 24 months. And so Jump Crypto, which a lot of people have probably heard that name before, they've been working on this in a partnership with Solana to try to get this moving. And so this is the official Fire Dancer informational page on the jumpcrypto.com website. So I just wanted to, show that for people if they're interested and they want to go take a look at it to get some more information. But this article from August 26, 2022. So it's almost a year old now at this point, but it does a nice job of kind of summarizing some of the aspects of what Fire Dancer is and what we can look forward to in the future here. So what is Fire Dancer? Fire Dancer is a new validator client that has been built by Jump Crypto to help increase the efficiency of the Solana network. It's a fully independent consensus node implementation for the Solana blockchain. A consensus node is the core piece of technology that validates use to agree on the chain state, blocks, and transactions, ensuring its integrity and validity. You can read a little bit more about what are the specifics that it does here. It's important to note that it's written in C++ programming language, and it's a widespread programming language that a lot of coders understand. All of this is open source as well. We like open source when it comes to our hardware wallets. It's good to see that this is open source as well, so we can see what's going on behind the scenes. But here's the key thing that I want people to know: how is FireDancer going to help? It will improve network efficiency, help scale the network, make it cheaper to run a validator node, and therefore that would make the network more decentralized. And that's what we're looking for here, especially when the SEC is coming out and saying a lot of these cryptos are securities. The more decentralized we can become, the better. And I know, Joe, we've talked about the Nakamoto coefficient before as a measure of decentralization, and Solana's already, higher than most. But this is going to make it even better in that aspect, as well as improving the stability of the network, which is been its number one problem. But remember, it's in beta, and if we can get more validator nodes up there, that'll be good as well.
Yeah, and Anatoly did an interview, and I want to say it was the Wolf of Wall Street guy, Scott Milker, or maybe I don't remember who it was.
I
To be
think that
completely
was
honest
it.
with you.
It was, I believe it was with him.
Yeah,
I
and
saw that same interview. It was really, really good.
Yeah, and he was talking about FireDancer, and he was saying like it was what he had envisioned Solana to be from the beginning.
Yes.
And how he didn't have the money to make it work, like to start from what they did. But now that they have the ability to do it right, he didn't. And I respect him a lot for this, right? Like I respect him for not putting out a half-ass product, because he knew how great it could be. He was like, I would rather wait a couple of years till we can prove ourselves and then go through and, show what we're capable of with this FireDancer. And honestly, I'm not even mad about it that it's taken this long. And, and to your point earlier, Grinder, about how it didn't touch the bottom. I kind of wish it had, honestly, because I wanted to buy more cheaper.
Yeah.
For the long term. But yeah, this is a great interview. If you guys haven't watched it, it's with Scott Melker, I think. If Joby, is that right? Am I right on that? That's the interview he talked about it.
That's what I remember. I can try to look it up here and see what I can find. But
that would be great.
I personally, from a tech perspective on this is the answer to Solana's shutdown problem. This is the fix. This is what everyone has been waiting for. And I mean, let's be honest, at this point, I always say Solana is forged in fire. Like Solana has now been hit with every negative aspect that the market could throw at it with I mean, just everything, and they always come back.
100%. Yeah.
I have more faith in Solana now than I ever have. I know when it was dropping, I kept buying. I'm not going to stop buying Solana. It's one of my favorite ones to hold.
That when it went down to $9, that was like a legendary.
I went crazy. Well, I went nuts. I knew I will be honest. I was a little bit scared when it went that low. But those
it
was
on the heels of when Luna went to zero. So I was like, could Solana go to zero? And I'm like, no, it's like a real project though. So it's not going to totally collapse, but it's in the back of your mind.
Right.
Yeah. I was delighted because I didn't get a chance to get into Solana when it was cheap. And then when it started dropping, I looked at it as a godsend. I was like, my children will thank me for this one day.
Yeah. And this is the Paul Barron video that somebody was mentioning. Does anyone want to give a summary of what that was about? It's in my watch list, but I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah. So basically, he just details, and I think he might actually have the interview clipped with Yankin Anatoly on what FireDancer is, if I'm not mistaken. But
yeah, it's probably right here. Looks about 9 minutes in.
Yeah. So basically, that entire video is just basically Paul talking about how great Solana is and how the the centralization is decreasing. We're getting, the higher Nakamoto coefficients. We're getting validators added daily, and just really breaks down everything that's happening with Fire Dancer in a pretty neat and concise way. I think that it's a great interview that everyone should probably watch. And that's kind of my TLDR. Didn't read it, but that's it. It's Joby. Maybe you can do
Oh,
another.
sorry. Oh no,
Go ahead,
I
bud.
just wanted to mention one really key point to this that was brought up is 600,000 TPS. 600K TPS
Yeah,
is
yeah.
minimal TPS that they're looking at with Fire Dancer.
Yeah,
and
they
and,
did.
and they ranged it. I think they did a test on it from 600K all the way up to double 1.2 million. And
I
that's
thought it was-
that is the TPS that's needed for a full global adoption without the need of heavy infrastructure changes.
And
Yeah.
I
So
think they said that was actually over a decent period of time too, right? Like they tested it for a couple of days. They've done several tests on it with Fire Dancer, and it's scaled up, and it's just hasn't missed a beat. It just runs like a tank.
Yep.
Mhm.
It's like an old
They're,
Toyota.
they're actually it goes as far as they're saying that this is the one thing that will actually make it so a cryptocurrency can compete with Web 2.
Yeah.
So that's huge. Like that means it can consume all of the transactions and utility that's happening on the current Web 2 internet and be used in a Web 3 application. This is game changing in my opinion. This is
Mhm.
this is
Yeah.
I
If
can't
they can
believe
if they can
this
pull it
isn't
off.
everywhere. Yeah, it
Yeah.
should be everywhere right now that people are talking about this because no one's been able to do this before. This is
Right.
enormous.
And
Joby,
remember, this isn't them jumping on the train or the bandwagon or trying to this has been their mission from the beginning.
Mhm.
To have a high throughput TPS network that could potentially support like the stock market. And if they can they've been working on it, they've been sticking to that goal. If they can hit this out of the park, that's what we want out of these projects. We don't want false promises. We don't want wishy-washy types of situations. If they can deliver on this, I think it says a lot about their continued integrity in this space.
Joby, do you stake your Solana?
Yes, I do. All of
Where
it.
do you stake it?
100% stake. So
Me as well. Yeah.
I use Phantom Wallet for staking. And I use multiple validators. I try to go as decentralized as I can with my staking stuff. But I'm all over the place through different validators. But that's who I prefer for actually doing the custody stuff. I like to keep everything in Phantom.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the Nakamoto coefficient. Someone said, or I just read that I can't find it for some reason, but I'm reading somewhere here that it says it got up to 30, 32.
Yeah. Yeah.
If so,
I'm
that's
kind of
amazing.
a technological dunce. I need to get on the ball with learning how to stake and all
I'll
that.
tell you, Beardy, all you got to do if you download the Phantom actually even has a application. I don't know if you're using iPhone or Android, but if you
iPhone.
download it's Phantom PHANTOM, not Phantom like the crypto, but Phantom as it's spelled, and you can download their wallet, and it's a really good wallet on top of it being like Solana's favored wallet, which it started with just Solana. You can actually use Ethereum and Matic on there now as well.
Yeah,
Where are
will
they
vouch
based
for
out
that.
of? Actually, I believe Phantom, aren't they? They're US.
I think it's
aren't
the
they?
US or Canada.
Yeah.
US?
I think. Don't quote me on that, but I know I did some research. They actually who I originally staked my my Solana through, and I still have some staked through there. I have like 95% of my Solana. It's just the stuff that I've accumulated over the last like month or two that I haven't staked yet because I don't want to. I just haven't had the chance to do it yet. But
They're in San Francisco, Beardy. Sorry, didn't mean to.
no, you're good.
Okay.
I knew it was somewhere in the U.S.
San Francisco, I definitely don't trust him then. No, just kidding.
Well, I mean, Twitter
I
too, I guess, right?
I used to stake mine through Atomic Wallet when I first got it, but I got it off of there when
Thank God.
when Ledger made it available. Obviously, there's still some iffiness about Ledger, but I still have it on Ledger through their partnership with Filament right now. But that's how I'm staking.
I will actually come out and say this, and I might get some heat for it. Rob at Digital Asset News, our crypto father, came out with an interview with the CTO of Ledger, and
I
gonna
watched
be,
that.
I'm still going to be looking at other. I'm still going to be ordering a Tracer and all that.
I'll tell you guys, I use an Elipal Titan, and I actually really like it. It's not. It's. I'll say this. It's good for Bitcoin and ETH. It doesn't support a lot of different altcoins.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for something that is just really easy to use and actually is a really nice just piece of hardware, you know, it's a Stacks. That's what it is. I mean, it's
I
the
was
first
just
ever touchscreen. It's been around for years, and I bought that thing years ago.
I
I'll
was
have to look
just
into those.
debating Elipal versus Arculus. What is it? Which one was open source, and was it Elipal? Is that open source or no?
I believe it is. I actually here I can't remember.
I was gonna get a backup cold storage, and I was looking between Elipal and Arculus.
Gotcha.
Seemed like Arculus was more like just for beginners kind of thing.
Yeah, I
We should
think
try to get.
is Arculus cold or closed source though.
Yeah, I think it.
There's
That's what I
something with
thought.
there's something with Arculus that made me say no, I'm not going to
I
touch
think
it.
it's not open source. I think it's
Okay.
closed.
Maybe we can have Joby. You can come back on another time and we can talk about wallets too. It seems like you kind of know a bunch about them, so that'd be kind of cool to do too.
Yeah, that would be awesome, guys. I anytime I could talk about stuff like this all day.
Awesome.
Yeah, we can too. Did anyone else want to share anything on Solana? Have any final thoughts on that, or are you guys ready to go to the next question?
Solana
for
to the
that.
moon, to the moon.
To the moon. All right. Question 4. Let's go over our thoughts in crypto for the week, the Bitcoin dominance, and then this kind of happened lately, but the Binance executives jumping ship, and then we also have an update we want to bring from Metal Lawman after that as well. We saw right before the show started, so I will go ahead and call on Beardy. I choose you. Give us your thoughts, buddy.
I want to hear from somebody intelligent, so I'm gonna pass it to Joby.
Very well. Joby, I choose you.
Beardy's the man. I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, he's humble. He's pretty humble. We love our
Well,
Beardy.
so this is on Binance's group leaving right now.
Yeah,
to be
pull up
honest
the
with
article,
you,
Jeff.
yeah, I don't
Work on it right now.
know. I don't really know how to feel yet. It's concerning. There's no doubt about that. But I think that at this point, people are concerned with their future careers, and with all the heat that's on Binance right now, I think that there's probably going to be a lot of movement. I don't necessarily think that it means that anything is wrong at Binance, but I do think that if say you're trying to get a job in the United States in these high level positions and you have Binance on your resume, I think that it could potentially red flag you. And I think that that's probably what people are getting concerned with. They don't want to be tied into this if it does turn into an actual criminal proceeding, and they don't want their name put on any type of subpoena that they have to show up for or anything like that. That's probably really what this comes down to, is the potential for future employment. And that's really it. Because a lot of these guys in these higher level positions, they frequently move a lot anyway, right? Because these are career growers. They will do 2-3 years at a firm, and then they will move to another for a higher position or higher pay, and they just do it over and over and over again. So this could be just a full media pool of normal movement in and out, but again, it's always best to be cautious. I personally just don't leave anything on exchanges ever. It's that simple. That's my remedy.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's kind of interesting is the timing of it all. I'm not sure if it's just the media making it out, like you said, to be more than it really is, or if it's something that we should worry about. I know we've talked previously on the show about Binance versus like Coinbase and the CEO strategies and stuff like that. And I still think Armstrong is a better advocate for crypto in the US. But I had heard a rumor, and maybe someone can confirm or deny this for me, but is it true that Binance is actually talking about getting out of the US entirely?
I could see that. Why waste their time on the
Mhm.
U.S.? Honestly, I know that we have there's a ton of money in the U.S. and if when we see a raging bull market again, massive investment comes from the U.S. that pumps
Mhm.
things up. However, it for Binance, it makes up such a small percentage of their actual holding,
And they're
and
already the largest
right.
exchange in the world
It it
anyway in
it it
Asia.
almost is silly for them to even fight this battle, in my opinion. You
Yeah.
know, they never were that big in the United States anyway. So
Mhm.
it's not
Yeah.
really they're not losing anything. The only thing that they're going to lose is trying to defend this tons of money and trying to defend their position, and then it also is going to damage their reputation worldwide by the US saying these things. There's
Mhm.
almost no benefit for them to keep trying to fight this battle, and it's sad too because I actually really liked Binance US. I enjoyed using that exchange. So but we'll see what happens. I could be totally wrong.
Texas didn't let them in, so I didn't get a chance to use them. I had watched videos, and it seemed like it was a pretty good platform to buy through.
Yeah.
I know they were cheaper than to Coinbase, but I always said I trusted Coinbase more because it's a company that had to go through an IPO and got audited by the SEC. Not that that really matters, apparently at this point. But thanks, Gary. Um, but I always said I'd be happy to pay the extra fees for a company that goes through audits and everything. I don't have to. I'm not as worried about them doing a clawback on me.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with Joby. I think that I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire. So it is possible that this could turn into something bigger. But I do agree that it might be people just saying, "Hey, we've been with this company for multiple years. We rode through the last bull market. We got what we needed out of here. My resume builder is complete. I don't want to taint that resume builder. So let me get out of here now and move when." You might be able to say, like, well, once as I became aware of some of these things that the US is like frustrated about, that's what made me say I'm looking for a new job. Like they could try to use that as an out. And like I can say from my personal experience with the two companies that I've worked for in my life before going into private practice, leadership was like the primary reason for me leaving. I didn't like the direction that leadership was showing me, or the headaches that were being put into place. So I was like, I got to get out of here and do something else. So it could just be that frustration of like, ugh, this is going to be like a slog to go through. I don't want to be
Yeah.
here for it. It's not my fight.
Well, another thing is we also, on the flip side of that, it is the very bottom of the bear market or the beginning of the bull market, depending on how you look at it. So maybe some of those executives got other jobs and they're like, hey, I can ride this up and make myself look like a superstar, from on this new executive team or whatever. That could be it
Mm,
too. But like you said, there's smoke, there's fire. I'm not really, I've never, I like CZ. I think he's a good leader. I think what he's done is pretty impressive, but I would never personally use his platform just because it's just like there's something about him that reminds me of Machinsky almost, and I never got involved in that for the same reason, that just something about him kind of made the hair on my neck stand up, and I'm like, yeah, I don't really think I like you, so I'm just gonna stay away from you, do my own thing.
He ended up being more solvent than Swan's prime trust custodian. So there's that.
mm,
Yeah,
that's
well, that's
true.
very true.
Cor-
Yeah,
Corey
I guess that
Clipson's
is
getting a
true.
lot of heat because he always was saying everybody else is whatever, and then he came into his own issue. So that was
Yeah.
kind of 360.
I will say that trust me, I've gotten similar vibes from the whole Binance organization just because of how uh, they are so mysterious as a company, right? But then when I really sit back and think about it, are they being mysterious to actually protect the consumers and the assets?
Mm,
That may be the case, and the
right.
trouble is, there's no way to truly know. All we can do is go by what we have seen happen. And
Hmm.
it does seem like no matter how much FUD gets thrown at them, they always seem to be able to meet customer demands. So,
Right. Exactly.
with that being said, I I'm frustrated with everything that's been happening. Again, it's more of the need for proper legislation so we can get around this and have multiple exchanges in the US that are operating, and we can then trust all of them. That there should be no issue with having to worry about these companies closing and your money just disappearing.
Yeah.
There are ways to remedy this, and it needs to happen.
Uh, I agree with that.
Agreed. Grinder, do you want to go over your thoughts for the week, buddy?
Yeah, thoughts. Let's see. Thoughts for the week. I mean, I think we did a good job kind of covering this piece of news. The only, I guess we could go over the Bitcoin chart for the week, see how that's
That would
going.
be
If you
great.
want,
I would love to see
yeah,
that.
if you want to share my screen, thank you, sir. Yeah, so zoomed out a little bit here, looking at Bitcoin's move from the beginning of the year to today. I've added this channel to my chart because I feel like we have enough data here to kind of hold up this hypothesis, if you will. So starting from the pump at the beginning of January, you can see that it came down and tapped it in March with the Silvergate closure news, and it almost came, or yeah, sorry, it did come down and tap it again here in the SEC scare and dipping underneath the bull market support band. But remember, it held the bull market support band at the beginning of that week. It did this entire move during the week, and then it got back above the bull market support band by the end of the week. So this is, on the weekly view, this is all a wick. It's not an actual close, and weekly is always stronger than daily, and monthly is stronger than weekly, and so on and so forth. So we got exactly what we needed to kind of represent, here's 3 points of contact to start a trend. There's not as many points of contact at the top of the channel, but the midline of this channel is actually pretty nice as well. You can see how it kind of plays with it every single time. It gets above it, it rides along the top of it, dips below it, gets back above it. And right now, that's kind of what we're messing around with again here. The biggest push in the middle here from about March to April was all in the top part of this channel. So it looks like we don't have as much strength this time around as the last time, because the last time we were able to pump to the top of the channel. This time we were just barely above it and then coming back down and back testing this as support. It'll be interesting to see what the daily close is today for the weekly close, because do we, if we hold the 20-day SMA, yeah, that's nice, but it's not necessary because we're still in this range moving sideways in this crab market. But you can see the Bollinger Bands here are starting to get pinched, and the bottom part of the Bollinger Bands is almost in line with that horizontal support. So I'm hoping that we can maybe tap this again next week and then get through the midline of the channel, and then maybe we can work our way towards the top of the channel, which would maybe be around like 36K. But again, this pump was weaker than the last pump because of its position in the channel. That makes sense because we've got lower volume down here, lower average volume than this pump. You can see the white line is giving you the average volume over 20 days, I believe. So this was higher than it is here. So and that aligns with the fact that July, August, September are usually like some of the worst months in crypto. People are on vacation. There's not a lot of liquidity. People aren't trading as much. And then September is historically the worst month. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next 2 months and where it puts us for the beginning of September, because I think September might be our last chance to kind of scoop a dip. So do we, go to the top of the channel and then come back down to the bottom of the channel around like, maybe hypothetically 28 to 29,000 in September as like a final dip and test and maintain that upward trend? Or do we break down from here and have some struggles in this area and then maybe go to like a horizontal support at like 24,000 or even maybe 21,000, 21.5 for September? But that's what I would kind of be looking at as like the bullish, bullish and less bullish case, but still bullish overall for September. And then I think the last part of the year, we can hopefully have a run up going into the anticipation of the halving. So any questions about that chart, guys?
Yeah, you said the top of the chart you think is, or what, that range you said, the very top, that blue line.
Mhm.
How far does that go back, and what line is that? What's it called?
So this would just be a parallel channel. I use the parallel channel to make two channels right next to each other, and I call this, the midline of the channel, that dashed line. The
Okay.
bottom part of the channel has more points of contact than the top. That's, obviously we could like, bring this down a little bit and maybe say this was a little bit of a deviation, and the midline is still kind of nice there. That would be a little bit more of a bullish case, because it suggests that if I drew it like that, it would suggest that this is still holding above the midline. But I like to be as conservative as possible with these types of things to not get ahead of myself. So I
Yeah,
like to grab the wicks at the top of the channel to try to encapsulate everything and see where it's going. But to answer your question, Joe, it's the bottom of this is starting at the beginning of the pump on January 1st of this year.
Okay, cool. I don't understand charts. I know we've talked about it before, so I'm trying to learn as we go. I'm using these as learning experiences as well.
Yeah.
Everyone is. So
You'll
I
get
think,
there.
yeah, like it. You're great at breaking it down. So I know some of my questions can be silly sometimes, but I don't understand it. So
Yeah, this is actually a
No,
really
no.
good chart. Really good.
Thank you.
Honestly, this follows exactly what I was thinking too. It's perfect. Well, I mean, not that you know what I mean.
It's
No,
perfect.
no,
Oh my God. Thank you,
yeah,
Joey.
it just it is. Honestly, I somewhat expect a very very small pullback, but nothing crazy. Personally,
Yeah.
it basically follows exactly how your charts blended. I think we are going to possibly see a little bit go below 30K, and I have buy orders ready to go for it. And then
Yeah.
I do think we're going to continue moving upward, but I think it's going to get a little boring here, just like you said.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I've been here since 2013, so I've seen it get real boring every summer.
Sure. Yep.
One other point, if we want to kind of, I'm big on volume and why it's important. So this histogram on the side here is the most important thing that I would want beginners to kind of understand is that this red line is showing you where the most volume traded during the time frame that's visible on the chart. And so we can manipulate this a little bit if we go back in time. So if we go back in time to include the FTX collapse, you'll see that the most volume that's traded at those lows. So this is a very strong base down in that 16 to 18K range. If we're just looking at this time frame. But then, of course, if you move it back to the beginning of the year, now the volume of the largest traded volume moves up to that like 23 range, 23, 24. And so then if we keep moving that forward to maybe take a look at this, you'll see that it moves up to 28. So those are the key levels that I would encourage everybody to kind of focus on. If we lose one of those levels, we're probably going to come back down and test the next one. So I'm watching 28K right now. then 22 to 22 to like 24K. And then the worst case scenario, if like all bad news happened at the same time, or recession was declared, China went to war with Taiwan, a bunch of other BS, then maybe it could get all the way back down here. And those levels are kind of similar to what James from Invest Answers talks about when he shows a slightly different chart, where a lot of these tranches of volume have been displayed. And so I think he talks about the 26.4 level. And right now he's currently talking about the 30.2 level. And that's what I'd like to see hold today. It looks like the Bears are trying to hold it, or I mean, the Bulls are trying to hold that 30.2 K level. And so if we can close there, I'll feel pretty good about next week, regardless of what direction it decides to test.
Heck yeah. Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, I think we talked on a previous episode and we said that, like I think all of us are in agreement. We don't think it's going to drop much below like 27, I think we said, and get above like maybe to 40 would be the kind of ranges I think we talked about previously. But yeah, that's a great chart, and I don't really know much else to talk about on that. So
No, that's fine. That's
yeah,
fine.
love that one.
So yeah, I mean,
Let's
this is a pretty long episode. Do we want to cut it here, or do we have one more thing?
We did just want to actually, I just want to break up the Metal Lawman one real quick, just so
Yeah.
everyone can see it. Give me one sec. So this tweet just came out, and we'll make this one really brief because I know we are running long. So the SEC versus Coinbase case date, the SEC submitted a letter yesterday responding to the Coinbase's request. Or the judge did, yesterday, responding to Coinbase's request to file a motion for judgment on the proceedings. What that basically means in the TLDR is both sides have said we have enough ammunition and we think our case is strong enough that we are just going to skip to the very end, and that we're going to want to hear what the judge said and let them settle this without going through all of the typical court proceeding stuff. That is a pretty big deal. The SEC will not object to Coinbase moving forward on the motion. And I think he actually says SEC's letter previews the arguments it'll make against Coinbase. Those arguments are not particularly strong. The SEC suggests a library case somehow helps them, even though the judge did not hold that the tokens traded on the secondary market are securities. What that basically means is that what that tells me is that Coinbase has got a decent shot at getting this taken care of. There's been so many people that have been listing Coinbase as their partner for the ETFs that I think that the SEC just realizes that they're probably going to lose this one if they keep looking so good. Their Coinbase keeps looking so good, getting named in the SEC or the ETF privacy security things. And I think that they're just going to drop this fight, to be honest with you. That's my prediction on it. But I don't know if anyone else wants to chime in. Joby, I think you're kind of experienced on this or maybe had some thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, actually. I think that probably in the long run is likely what we're going to see. I think it's going to take a little bit more time. I think no matter what, there is going to be a battle that begins that's somewhat like what we've seen with XRP and Ripple. It's probably they're going to try to draw it out, would be my guess, and they're going to try to break Coinbase down is probably the goal, to make them do some sort of settlement, would be my guess.
The part that gets me is this part right here that says the SEC offers no response at all to the damaging Gary Gensler testimony cited in Coinbase's letter. To recap, Gary testified in 2021 that the SEC did not have legal authority over crypto exchanges, and there was no regulatory framework at the SEC for crypto exchanges. That, given with the other Warren or whatever the other gentleman who's pro crypto, he's been on Paul Barron's show. And McCartney, the Senate Majority Whip leader for the finance thing, I know he came out and said he's watching this very carefully. So yeah, I think this is going to get dropped sooner or later. Sorry to interrupt you on that. Yeah. My bad, buddy.
Oh no, you're good, man. I hope so. I really hope so. We'll see what happens. It's really hard to it's hard to guess on something like this.
Yeah.
Brian, did you have any thoughts on that, Bubba?
No, I think the politician you were looking for was Warren Davidson.
Thank you. Yeah, Warren Davidson. Thank you.
But yeah, no, I agree with Joby's sentiment, and he knows more about the legislative side than I do. So, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, with legislative anything, it takes forever. So
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
that's very-
we are so slow to get things done. That's always been a joke in even the DoD industry that you're going to hurry up and then you're going to wait. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's it.
Yep.
Hopefully, we'll see some change in that though with this upcoming election cycle. I think they're realizing how important this is to a lot of people, so they're kind of moving with a little more sense and urgency than normal. Beardy, did you have any thoughts, Bubba?
No, sir. I'm just chilling in Wisconsin. I'm gonna have to jump soon. But,
Okay, yeah, I think
yeah.
we're gonna wrap it up here.
Same,
It's been an
same.
hour and a
my
half. so-
closing thoughts. I just wanted to channel my inner British huddle and have everybody. I think we have a narrow window of time here just to accumulate and just go the extra mile. I've been dashing the doors. It's kind of fun, just to stack some extra stats, and it's just do it for the future of
Yeah.
the kids, grandkids, all that, and it's
Yeah.
been awesome chatting with you guys, and it's
Yeah,
been a
same.
good one.
Awesome.
Yep, it's kind of my sentiment. Disregard females and acquire currency as acquire stats as my current motto. So, with that being said, we have been on for an hour and a half, which seems like 5 minutes to me. So, Joby, thank you so much, man, for coming on.
Hey, thank you guys
Yeah.
for having me. It was
Really
a lot
enjoyed
of fun.
it.
I anytime I'd be happy to come on. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man,
Yeah.
we were actually super excited on this one. So I know
We'll
we were all
definitely
kinda
have
like-
you back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
it was great.
So that being said, thank you guys so much for joining us for our 10th episode, making it special with Joby. And we will hope to see you guys next week. Remember, go outside, touch some grass, reach out to a friend that you haven't talked to and remind them you love them. Especially, men's mental health month this month. So, anyone else got anything to say? Or are we good to go?
All good.
All right. You guys have a fantastic one. Go enjoy your Sunday. Talk to you later.
All right,
Bye.
take care, guys.
Bye.